O tengo que acercarme mal el micrófono.
No, está bien, mira. ¿Qué
¿Ya
es lo que
estamos
mi gente
vivos?
walk? Sí, estamos vivos ahora. Pero yo
Excelente.
puedo, mira, yo puedo editar todo esto. Eso es lo
No
bonito de
edite,
todo.
hombre, estoy en vivo. Estoy en vivo. Oh, I'm
¿Qué es lo que
sorry.
mi gente?
This is
¿Qué
live.
es lo que mi gente? Welcome to the Monoplaza F1 podcast, officially, unofficially, the first one of the 2025 season. With me again, friend of the podcast, fresh off of his assignment. This guy with Lidom Baseball. They finally relinquished him now that the season is over. Thank God, right? Is ESPN Latin American F1 columnist and founder of Entrando Pits podcast. Rauli, Vince, Duran. Vince, every time you're on here, I'm just going to keep adding to your intro. It's just going to be like an encyclopedia,
Yeah,
literally.
you're doing it like I do with Medrano. That's it's funny.
Medrano, alias El Patron. All right, hey, Vince. So
Yo,
it's great that you are on the show. And for those who haven't noticed already, Vince is wearing a Ferrari t-shirt. Vince is one of the Ferrari faithful. He is a Tifosi. I am a Negro Fosi, which means now that Lewis Hamilton
you already
is,
what?
hey, I'm a Moreno Fosi. Tifosi? No, yeah. Basically, I'm a Lewis Hamilton fan first, and
All right.
then Ferrari. Although I do like Charles Leclerc, but I brought Vince on partially because he knows what the bleep he's talking about, but also because he can give his thoughts on Ferrari and the upcoming season from a genuine Tifosi Ferrari fan point of view. And if you watch, for those of you, hey, let me give a shout out real quick. For those of you who are joining me from Entrando Pits because you listen to both podcasts, you're gonna get in English Vince's love for Charles Leclerc. So I hope you
Ah,
appreciate. No, it's okay. I understand. So,
not
Vince,
heavy.
let me start by saying this or asking this. Ferrari last year finished number 2 in the constructors championship.
Yep.
It went down basically to the last race. I think it was
Yep.
fine. Sure.
Love it.
Had they
Yep.
not messed up for a couple races, it would have been easy. And so my first question for you, I guess, based on how Ferrari ended the season last year
Yeah.
and coming into this year, what do you think the expectations are for the team? Everybody is already starting to say, hey, they got Hamilton, they got Charles, they're going to win the
Well,
constructors, probably a WDC. But from last year to this year, what are your realistic expectations of Ferrari?
well. Um, First of all, thank you for having me again. Um, a big shout out to the old Monoplaza F1 fans out there. But I have a situation with Ferrari because
Mm-hmm.
um, at the end of 2022, Ferrari was in a state. Like Ferrari was the second on the constructors championship, second Red Bull,
Yes.
and then the expectation for 2023 was what the problems that they had in the F175, that was a car for 2022, would be fixed.
Yes.
But the problem was fixed, but the car was slower. And then 2023 was the season where Verstappen won 19 races. And
Yes.
Carlos Sainz was the only one that won on Singapore, and it was only because Red Bull was not doing good that weekend.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
comes 2024. It's something of a new philosophy for the car. And the car was the second fastest car until China, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
more or less. Like China, yeah, by the time they reached Imola, the McLaren was faster. And Charles, I remember Charles was saying something about uh, the energy deployment on the Red Bull on the McLaren was far better than Ferrari's. Then they went to Monaco,
Yep.
and even though the Ferrari was the slowest car, Charles managed to get the pole. Thankfully, Magnussen and Checo crashed in, so
Yep.
no worries with the pit stops and stuff.
Well, yeah, the crash and of course Carlos
Yeah,
Sainz got really lucky too that he
yeah.
was able to.
Well, Ferrari was lucky because if
Yep.
Sainz would have DNF on the first lap, that would mean that Leclerc would have Piastri and Lando behind him. So, but then, you know, to not go deeper into that.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
problem
yeah.
after that is that for after Monaco, Ferrari goes to Canada. It has a horrible weekend. Both Ferraris were out Q2, and then they go
Yep.
to Spain. And I remember that there was a podcast on Entrando Pits that Medrano and I we told or we said specifically that we didn't like the way that Ferrari was developing the car because they were bringing a lot of upgrades to one specific race. I think it was for Imola first,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
we
Yep.
were speaking about like when you bring a big package, if something doesn't work, you're not sure what is it that doesn't work. So Ferrari goes to Spain, and then there's a drop in performance that lasts until Belgium. Yeah, in Belgium, Charles was P3, and then in Chambord.
Yes. Yes.
But and this is the story of Ferrari. Even after John Todt left the team, Ross Brawn, and I'm talking about the early 2000s, the Michael Schumacher era, and then we arrived to 2025. Um, you would think that with a new set of regulations in 2026, Ferrari would take it easy on the development of the 25 car. And in December, Fred Vasseur said that this year's car, it's only 99%. I'm sorry, it's 1%
Of last
from
year.
last year's car and 99% a brand new car. And what I'm worried about is that all the hype that has come with the performance that they had last year, and then with the arrival of Hamilton, might be buried on the lack of performance that I don't know that exemplifies what is Ferrari for the last 16, 17 years, 25,
So,
yes, for the last 17 years.
so
And so I'm sorry, I, I've gone a lot, but it's like we expect a lot from for this year, but we also are careful to not to put a lot of hopes on 25 and to think about 26 as the year that we really or that Ferrari really has the chance to go for both titles. Now, if the SF25 is as good as SF24, and we have problems with Red Bull and the insecurities and errors and the errors of judgment that McLaren has, we might see a strong Ferrari, a strong pair of drivers lifting Ferrari for the Constructors' Championship. But
mm,
from my point of view, I'm honestly thinking that Verstappen is the man to beat for the World Drivers' Championship,
until he loses.
and McLaren is the team to beat at the moment. So it's like, yay! It's like,
So I mean, okay, a couple points. I think
like,
I remember having.
like en buen dominicano, como yo a mi cuarto no lo pongo ahí.
So all right, let me walk it back because there you made a lot of interesting points. I remember last year, you came on. I want to say it was for Monza. You came on for Monza,
Yeah,
and that was after Ferrari basically had horrible races from Monaco to
to Belgium.
basically Monza, right? And because
Yeah,
you're right, Belgium, Charles had a podium, and you start to see right. Canada was terrible. Strategy in England really messed him up because why would you put Charles on inters when
in
nobody else is
Hungary.
going? Hungary? Yeah. See,
Yeah,
so it all started to add up. I guess where I'm going, and I hadn't thought about that, and I do remember the episode. They brought all those upgrades at Imola.
yeah,
Upgrades did not work how they were supposed to, and it was kind of hidden in the next race because after Imola was what Monaco, and you're right, Charles gets on pole, everybody's lucky, so you're just kind of like, oh, those upgrades didn't really work, but it can't have been as bad because they still were able to get on pole, and most people. Not necessarily you. I think we're ignoring the fact Monaco, the way it's currently set up, if you get pole, as long as your strategy is good and you have a little bit of luck,
The win is yours.
full
The,
stop.
the big the big problem after Imola and Monaco and Canada was that they brought another package to Spain, and that's when shit really hit the fan.
So
Sorry for the word.
that's all right. Mohammed bin Sulayem doesn't know who I am, so I'm not
Yeah.
going to get fined. I promise. and, so I guess I'll give it to you from this perspective. This is the last year of these regulations.
Yeah.
It doesn't, for me, it wouldn't make sense, I guess, in earlier years of these regulations to change the car completely. Say 99% of the car is going to be new, 1% is going to be the same. The way I look at it, it's a gamble 100%. But my assumption is it's the last year of these regulations. What do we have to lose? Let's start testing some things that could help us for 2026.
My thoughts, my thoughts too. But if you're gonna like throw it all on 2025, why don't you do it with the base or a concept that you already know worked and you already know why didn't work with that car.
But
Now
you
you
don't
have
think
a
they're gonna
different.
you don't think that you don't think that they will have incorporated some of those things into. I know, like, maybe I feel like 99% is like extreme, because that's really like, are you really trying to do 99%? Maybe Fred's really just trying to say we're changing.
I don't think so because they changed the way their suspension works.
Yeah.
They went from push. No, they
To
went
pull.
from pull to push rod
Hmm.
with the
Hmm.
suspension, and then was it otherwise? I don't I don't remember right now if it was from push to pull or pull to push.
But
But they
basically, Ferrari was the last team to have that kind of suspension, and now they're joining everybody else who has the same type of of suspension. And actually, you know what? While I'm here, I can check that. But I get what you're saying. I guess my thing is to echo what you were trying to say, and that's my feeling. I think you agree to a certain extent.
yeah
For
pull
me,
rod. They went from push to pull rod now.
and so for
So
me,
it's a
I guess what
different
do they have
way
to lose?
that the car will behave on the corner entry, which is where you get the most speed, and which was where Hamilton was having problems. I understand they have to accommodate their big signing, but they're taking a massive gamble when they're exploring a new way of doing the car, a new concept for the other driver that is
But
Leclerc.
do you think that? And I can't remember. I don't actually think you do. But do you actually think that Hamilton and Leclerc's driving styles are that much different from each other, though?
No, um, actually, when we're talking about the guys that like a really um, like oversteering car and understeering, like
Mm-mm.
if you compare like last year when with Max and Checo, it was a big gap. But Leclerc and Lewis is more up to the. Still, he likes the understeer car, but he's most. It's not like he's over the way over there. Like if you have a bar and this is the middle that is balanced,
Yeah.
Lewis is mostly here, Charles is on this other way, while Max was here and Checo was here. It was there. So that's why you saw the big difference between the performance on the car because they set up the car for this guy. This guy needs to drive it, but he can't. But
And so,
I think that
okay.
both their styles can live.
Yeah.
And what I hope is that Ferrari gives them a car that they don't have to overdrive because that's where the problem begins.
So, I mean, one thing for me, and you said this, the last live that I saw that you guys had on Entrando Pits, and I think you've said this a couple of times, and I agree, right? Like, I'm an older guy myself. What you were saying is that it's easier for Charles Leclerc to adapt to a new style of car
Yeah,
than for Lewis Hamilton to have to learn how to adapt to, okay, this car is mostly set up for Charles, but it's slightly different or very different than what you're used to, Lewis. So we're gonna give you a year to that. But I'm agreeing with what you're saying, because I think it is easier for Charles to adapt than it is for
for Lewis
Lewis
to
to
having
have
to
to
adapt
adapt.
to Charles' style. And the thing is that we already know that if you even the car, Lewis will win you a championship.
100%.
We still don't know about Charles. Charles hasn't had the chance of having a championship winning car, but we already know what Lewis can do with a championship winning car.
But
You know, like
this is what I like about this pairing though. And I don't think a lot of people are talking about how much Charles I feel like for me I really like Charles Leclerc. And I see the talent is there. I see the potential is there. I see the skill level is there. And I saw last year Charles Leclerc making more strides, talking about, hey, I want this strategy or this strategy sucks, something that Charles wasn't doing before. I think for him, that not that final step, but maybe the thing that's going to help him level up more is having a Lewis Hamilton as a
to beat,
teammate
to beat, because your
to
friend,
beat, but also just to learn from too,
oh
right?
yeah, if he learned something from from Sainz, from Vettel, from Ericsson, he will have a lot more to learn from Hamilton.
And so I guess
But
the final,
he
but
he will want to beat Lewis Hamilton.
as he should,
Let's not kid ourselves about that.
as
Leclerc will want to crush Hamilton's soul in that car, and
absolutely.
Hamilton won't let him. So we're up for
But
a really really interesting season.
that's why it's been so interesting to me to see their relationship early on, even going back to, if you go back to 2023 Mexico, where Lewis is doing like a little photo shoot with Charles Leclerc taking his
Yeah,
pictures. Then you go to 2024 where everybody knew Lewis was going to Ferrari, and so like you see them talking a lot, hanging out a lot. For me, all psychological. Maybe they really do like each other, and I'm sure they really respect each other. All of that. They both seem like really nice guys, but I'm not fooled. You're not fooled. They're both killers. Charles
exactly.
Charles is gonna want to beat him. Lewis is gonna want to beat him. They can be nice. I mean, hey, Nico
Out of the
Rosberg and
car,
Lewis Hamilton started out great, and see how they ended up. So it's
out of
all
the car, they will be the best friends ever. But on the track,
what I will say though. Do you remember last race of the year, Abu Dhabi last year? You had an opportunity. Was it Abu Dhabi or I don't know if it was Qatar, where basically Charles ended
Abu
up
Dhabi,
passing Lewis, and
Abu
they were
Dhabi
like,
was yeah, Abu Dhabi was. Oh no,
and that,
where Charles passed Lewis was in Qatar.
but they were like right there
Like
next to each other.
they were fighting wheel to wheel. Yeah, it was a good one.
So for me, that's what I'm expecting. They're not necessarily quote unquote like dirty, but
No,
that's what I'm expecting from both of them. It's gonna be tough, but it's gonna be fair. And so
for me, I don't think you will see a lot of Charles trying to overtake Lewis because Charles, for me, will qualify ahead. The thing is, when Lewis will attack him, when he has Lewis on his mirrors, if he's going to be able to handle the pressure, I think that's the key point because we know Lewis is fast, but Charles is the fastest driver on the grid right now, and they have
absolutely,
the same car.
that's your first. What is it? We always say the first job of a driver is to beat his teammate. In equal machinery, your first
Yeah.
job is to beat your teammate. And
So
so I guess look, here's my final question
on that,
on expectations. No, just on expectations.
yeah,
I think you touched on something that was like really important. I am one of those who is 100% buying into the hype, right?
yeah,
I was there posting. I've never seen Lewis this happy in a long time. I've never seen Lewis this like motivated to do something. After the last 3 years of Mercedes, where they have a car where you have
it's going nowhere. You can say it.
not only that, first you had to deal with the porpoising, which was bad. Then you had to deal with a concept that didn't work that they brought back. After knowing it didn't work, they brought it back, right? Then you have to deal with, hey, what we're seeing in the simulation does not correlate to what we're seeing on track.
Yeah,
Then you're seeing a car that doesn't turn, doesn't brake. And so I completely understand why Lewis Hamilton is happy. He's in a car that at a bare minimum is better than the last three cars he's had to drive, right?
yeah.
So I'm buying into the hype from that. But I guess my question is the expectation for Ferrari to do well, is that part of the hype? Or is it, hey, you have two championship caliber drivers, one who is literally a multiple world driver champion. You have the ingredients there. So do you feel like the expectations for them to do well are justified, or is
I
it
just,
just
oh, they're justified. They had the car last year, and they have the best pairing of drivers in the grid. That's no doubt about it. There's no
so
other team that has seven time seven time world champion, seven maybe eight, and
And
and a talent like Leclerc.
and so if the team finishes, if the team finishes P2 in constructors, will you consider that a failure?
Yes,
I agree.
yes,
No, I agree.
yes. Because if they didn't learn from the mistakes they made in 2024,
Yes.
and I'm not talking about the drivers, I'm not talking about Sainz or Leclerc, I'm talking about Ferrari,
Correct.
the engineers, the developing team. If they didn't learn from 2024, it's it's
Yes.
it's it's a catastrophe because you're gonna have. I mean, let's be serious. We're talking about the winningest driver in the history of Formula One. The first
Yes.
one with 200 podiums, 100. The
Yes.
first one with 100 wins.
104 pole. Yes. All the stats. Yes.
It's crazy. And then you have Leclerc, that is a really good driver. So if they finish, for me, if Ferrari doesn't win the constructors championship, it's a catastrophe.
I'm still agreeing with that. I co-sign that. Yes. Yes. No, no, no. Because for everything that you said, there should not be a reason for them to not compete.
Because you can already see that McLaren is still having the same issues that they had last year. Piastri is already saying that he's ready to be champion in 2025, and Lando is saying that he's stronger. So you might have a problem there. And while Ferrari, you might have a problem. I'm quite sure that Fred Vasseur, if come the summer break, Lewis is ahead on the drivers' championship. After the summer
You
break,
you
the
have
team
to.
will focus on Lewis.
You you have to. Yeah.
And
Why
I'm and
wouldn't
I'm
you?
saying I'm saying the summer break, but that's too far. That could be
So
about
you
7
think
races in. If the one that is leading, the team has to support him because
you think
they
by
shouldn't. It, like McLaren, like the drop of the ball that McLaren did last year, Ferrari can't afford that. Because McLaren is one thing. They have their excuses like, oh, they're learning how to win again. Ferrari doesn't have that.
yeah, that's yeah,
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 you
yeah.
can't expect that from Ferrari. They paying a lot of money to have this guy here. So no,
So do
if
you
Ferrari is
think
P2 in the constructors, it's a failure.
so by Canada? So by Canada, you think whoever's leading by Canada, that's what the team's gonna focus on, or do you
It
think
should.
earlier than that?
It should.
Okay. All right. No, no, no. That's gonna be interesting. Um. All right. And finally, I already know this answer, but see, again, I'm gonna put it in English now.
They do
Because
it.
who's gonna win the qualifying head to head? What is your margin between?
Oh,
I
my
know you.
margin.
Yes, Lewis and Charles head to head
Head to head on
pole
qualifying.
qualifying. I'm not
On
talking about race. I'm
qualifying.
just talking about
Charles,
qualifying.
Charles will beat Lewis 19-5.
19-5. Okay, I'm not going 19-5. I'm gonna give Lewis 9. So what is like 15-9? Is that what it is?
15-9. 15-9.
And the only reason I'm saying that is because he's driven basically the same Mercedes car for what 11 years, 12 years, however many years he
12
was in a
years.
Mercedes.
12 years.
Yeah, but I think that yeah,
If you ask
qualifying is
me,
my.
Charles is going to beat him.
But I'm saying I don't disagree. As much as
Because
I want to be like, no, he's gonna hand his ass
you
to
know,
him.
right now by saying that, I'm getting into trouble with some people, like in
I mean,
in a podcast.
I'm
Like
I'm
Medrano
getting
won't
in.
like that answer.
But the
But
thing is,
what I'm saying is what I want, what I expect. It could
I
be
want
otherwise.
listen. I
Lewis,
want to,
hey, Lewis has the talent to do it 24.
but I don't think me and you saying that Charles is going to out qualify him this season means that Lewis is terrible. For
No,
me, all that signifies is that he's just in a new environment, adjusting to a new car.
and then Leclerc is really good.
But I know, but see, I think that's a mistake that people make. I'm not. I don't like the fact that when people are talking about their favorite drivers, they have to minimize the accomplishments of one
Of the
driver to elevate their driver.
well, Russell beat Lewis, and now everybody's saying that the way Russell did it, it was only because Lewis was living for Mercedes. And I'm like, he was living for Mercedes, but he still won two races on that car
Yeah, but you and I have talked about this. How come all the experiments that they did, Lewis had to do the experiments?
because he's the who has the most experience.
No, absolutely. I agree. And the person who benefited most from Lewis's experience, unfortunately, was not Lewis, right?
Well, that's on Lewis. That's not on Russell. He's the
Absolutely.
one giving the feedback.
And Russell consistently calling his own shots, like he did at Belgium. When no, we're going to do a one stop, and it
Yeah,
cost him. Obviously, Russell was disqualified.
but also that's a drop in the ball for the team because the drivers are not supposed to do that. You never seen Max
Oh,
Verstappen saying, "Oh, we should change tires."
100%, 100%. And so, going back to El Tema,
Yeah.
for me, for me, I think Charles Leclerc is an excellent driver. I think Charles Leclerc is a world driver championship caliber driver. I think it's going to be a tougher challenge, not an insurmountable, a tougher challenge for him, for Charles, than it was
Oh,
when he was against Vettel, right? When he was against Sainz, right?
I think I have a different way of seeing it because when
Mm-hmm.
he went up against Vettel, he was a rookie. He was still a rookie. He only had one season in Formula One and was driving a Sauber. Now he's had the experience of being a Ferrari driver with all that comes with it. And Hamilton, it's way older than what Vettel was back
Sure,
then.
sure. Still younger than Alonso,
So
but yes,
I think in terms of being difficult for him, I don't think it's more difficult than than when he went up against Vettel, just because he was a rookie. He was a rookie with a season on sober. His um his his partner was Marcus Ericsson.
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
like
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
you know where you see where I'm going.
yeah,
So
yeah.
right now he has the experience. He's being the leader of that team, and I think he's more prepared uh, to the challenge that is going up against Lewis Hamilton. That what he was when back in 19. So no, I don't think it's his biggest challenge. It's not his easiest, but I think that going up against a four-time champion when you're basically a rookie,
Right. It's tougher than
it's
okay.
tougher back then. On my opinion, it can
So
be.
my opinion is that I think it'll be tougher for Charles because everything you said makes sense. Charles was not a super experienced driver by the time Vettel came or he joined Ferrari, right? Makes a ton of sense. Ericsson and Sauber was not really a challenge for Charles, right? You can argue that Sainz was a good challenge as
It
well.
was.
And I'm not trying to take anything away from Sainz, whatever.
Well,
Um,
he's no Lewis Hamilton.
I think mentally, Lewis is on a different level than all of those guys.
I hope because the Hamilton that we've seen in the last 3 years, it's not that tough.
I've seen a Hamilton who was not happy with the team for at least the last 2 years.
Well, let me say
And
this.
and and
Let me
here's the
say
thing.
this.
Wait. Him and Charles have similar personality traits in that if the car is not good,
Oh yeah, they will
it's
tell
like
you.
they're just like, okay, well,
Let's just give it. But the problem is that he used to lose. Well, he lost faith in Mercedes,
yep.
a team that gave him 6 world championships. Hey, he's going to Ferrari, and Ferrari does a Ferrari. Look, man, Ferrari isn't easy. Ferrari isn't
You
easy.
think Lewis Hamilton is gonna do an Elaine Prost?
He's gonna hang himself if Ferrari does. Listen, if Ferrari does to Hamilton what they did to Leclerc on Monaco 2022, he retires at the end of the season.
I don't
He
listen.
says, fuck it, I'm out. Peace.
Nothing can be worse than the W13 for Lewis Hamilton. Strategies aside, nothing can be worse than having to drive a
Dude,
W.
Monaco 2022.
I know. I remember. What do we? Yeah, yeah. Charles, I could hear him crying. Just all right. next thing I want to talk about. Man, this is. But last thing I'll say is I'll be looking forward to the season. I might have to put a bet in with you and Entrando Pits and see what happens when I go to DR. I may end up having to owe you and the team some goods. So we'll see. We'll talk. We'll talk. We'll
We'll
talk.
talk of we'll talk after the recording.
So so today is Thursday. At the time of this recording, the F175 live event already happened. So I guess quickly, what did you think about the event? Are we so starved for Formula One to start that we were yes something, or did you feel like the event was good? They should do it more often, or it was just like
I liked it. I liked it. I'm sorry, I have to connect the camera here.
no, you're good. I man, I'm trying to I'm no, I'm trying to figure out what to say exactly about this. Like the event for me was one that was very I think going into it, we knew who was going to be a part of it. We knew who was hosting. We knew all the acts. But then I think when we found out, like, hey, they're not really going to show the 2025 cars. They're just going to be showing
But we know that
20.
already.
We obviously knew that, and then we knew the order of the teams. And like, I'm not gonna lie to you, it was
It was
kind of
good.
awkward. It was kind of awkward at times. So, like,
Look,
I'm not saying that it was terrible general. It's just for me, I was just kind of like,
look, what Formula One is doing now, trying to like globalize the sport. Um, like for big teams like Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren, this type of event isn't giving them that much because they all have the exposure on social media
yes,
and on regular TV and radio. But for the little teams like Sauber, Williams,
so mm-hmm.
Visa Cash App, whatever their name is now,
He's a cash app 2 for 1. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Sauber, it's like the league is giving you a platform to show up your car, to talk to your fans, those 5 fans that you have. So it's, I think it's good. It's good. And like we haven't seen uh, people this excited for seeing the libraries in what in
I
10 years
mean,
maybe.
I think that you're right. I think that for me, here's where I will give 100 and a ton of credit to Formula One, right? They're trying to expand. And I think that I can't fault them for trying to do an event. The event in and of itself had all the glitz, had all the whatever music, events, a host, all of that was that part was great. I think where it's funny to me is that like people criticize it and they're allowed to criticize it, so I'm not taking away from that, but it's like F1 is trying to grow globally. F1 is trying to expand their audience, right? I think people who watch Formula 1 like myself, you, we know everything that's going on, but it's not one of the most popular sports in the world, right?
No,
Like I
it's
can't
not.
just exactly to us, we're in it, so we're like, oh yeah, and so I think what's interesting is that like we criticize it, but it's like at least Formula One is trying to do
It's
something.
trying to grow and it's good. It's good for the
Yeah.
sport. So
Um, but I guess
now,
more important. What?
what
Oh,
what I
okay,
could
go.
say is that they should have spent a little bit more. I'm sorry, I kicked the camera. Um, they should have spent a little bit more money on the artistic side of the event. Because
There's only
I
one.
only knew the first one, Machine Gun Kelly, because he was married to Megan Fox. But then,
Yeah. I knew Thames. Thames, I really like Thames. Thames was really great. I don't like Machine Gun Kelly, but the thing that's about Machine Gun Kelly that cracks me up is that Eminem made him retire. Okay, because
yeah, he used to be a
he used to be
rapper,
a rapper,
and now
not
he's a
anymore.
rock star. That's crazy.
Yeah. So, more important question for me: would you have paid money to go to that event?
No, sir.
Me either.
No, sir.
Uh,
No,
hey,
sir.
hey, Formula One. I'm gonna speak on behalf of myself and Vince. Though, if Formula One, if you want to pay for us to be there, if any team wants to pay for us to be at one of those
Oh yeah,
events, I'll be there,
you can write it on our email. You can send us an email, and we'll be there.
100%. But I'm not gonna pay. I'm not gonna pay money to
Yeah,
go.
I don't think so. And well, maybe no, I don't think so because I get the excitement anyway watching on YouTube.
Exactly. It's like
And the thing is that I have to go to work, so I'd rather not go and stay home. So no.
See, I understand you completely. The thing is, your job is one where you have to go to these events, right? And what I'm realizing about events nowadays is it's better to watch them from home, unless you're like front row and you know somebody on the team. But otherwise, you got to get dressed. You got to pay for parking. You got to pay for food. You got to get
Crazy.
to the event. You got to
The
wait till it's
flight.
over.
The flight. Nah,
And
I'm
so,
good. I'm good.
but the main event obviously was showing the livery reveal. I'm not going to go through each one of those. I just want to ask you which one you were the most disappointed in and which one was your favorite livery.
Well, well, the I can say that the one that I was most disappointed was McLaren.
Because it's the same
Same
thing.
car.
Yep.
I could say that also about Aston Martin, but Red Bull also falls there. But
Same
Visha
thing.
Kasab, whatever their name is, the little guy from Red Bull Racing Bull,
Yep. Be the cash
that's the
engine for
best.
them.
That's the best.
hundred
And
percent.
I do like the Ferrari one because it has these white stripes and stuff, but it has 10 Hewlett Packard logos, 10 logos, 10
Here,
times the HP logo. It's on that car.
the
It's twice
thing.
on the front wings, twice on the back on the back wings
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah. The
on the
the
rear
logo.
wings. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
rear
yeah,
wings.
yeah.
It's on the halo. It's
It's a
on the
lot.
front
It's
wheel cover, and it's on both of the front wheel covers, and it's on the this thing on of the engine cover where the
yes.
big white stripe is. 10 logos.
The thing is that for me, so as a designer, I'm looking at that, and I know Hewlett Packard has an identity guide, and I know they have branding guides, and I know they have different
They
versions of
have
logos, and they could have
right.
used different versions of that logo instead
They
of
could
that
have
black,
used the black one, the negative one.
but they did it. So I'm with
10.
you. For me,
But I mean 10,
that's
10, 10, 10, 10 logos. 10.
yeah, it's unnecessary.
The
So
same
basically,
sponsor.
Hewlett Packard owns Ferrari. Is
That's what
basically
I'm thinking.
that's all I understood from all of that. So,
Hey,
but I think for me, best one, hands down, had to be V Carb. I liked
yep.
it. Everybody else, yeah, McLaren's, Aston Martin's, Stake, Sauber, Audi, whatever it was, meh. Williams, okay, sure, they didn't do a whole lot. Uh, McLaren, same thing as last year, so they stole Red Bull's whole thing, which Red Bull has had the same car now or same scheme for I think what 10 plus years. So it's like okay,
Every year.
Aston Martin, okay, green, whatever. Um, so yeah, just the final thing I guess I'll say about that. I overall like maybe better artists. I don't know if they'll do that next year. I don't know if they'll say for the 100th thing they'll do a bigger event, whatever. But I don't blame them uh for putting on the event. Okay, quickly and wrapping up because I think I hear somebody calling me. Hey, everybody, I got a family outside of this. But the question I guess that I have for you
Yeah.
in the upcoming season, we got a lot of stuff to be excited about, but I really want to talk to you about two things.
Yeah.
So Mohammed bin Sulayem is trying to censor what the drivers are saying. Here's the only thing that I'll say about that. You and I watching a Formula One race do not get the unfiltered version of the radios. We get
Right?
the censored
The
versions
censored
of
one,
the
with the one with the
radio.
bleep.
Unless you've got like multi-viewer, which I have, and you can listen to the radios and it's uncensored,
Yeah.
sure. So for me, it doesn't make sense that
It's
they're
stupid.
gonna
The thing is
remove.
that this guy comes in. He's, well, where is he from? Is he from Qatar
Uh,
or from Bahrain?
I
I don't
think
remember. He's from,
yeah,
from the UAE. He's from the United,
yeah, something like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, one of those countries that has a kingdom or a sheik. So this guy is, let's say, he's more used to being the boss and zero democracy. So he's just putting in whatever he crosses his head. Like, oh, now he says he wants a 12 team and he wants it to be Chinese. What are you talking about, man? So I don't know where this is gonna stop because Now we're gonna have the races. He even said that they might take the radios off. So why are we watching the races if we cannot hear the drivers?
And they were the ones who introduced the radios to begin with. Just he's just doing a lot of this for me. Just
I don't know, man.
I mean, I'm with you. It's dumb. Um, and the one thing I guess, I mean, he didn't introduce this, so like it's fine. Ben Salam, I think, is just doing this to
To
give
show that
himself attention.
he has
Yeah, give
power.
himself attention, give himself like limelight, say that he's authority, but it's like, bro, you're doing too much. Just let them race, focus on
Yeah,
WEC, focus on all the other ones, just let Formula One do its thing. But he's
just go
always got to
karting,
be,
bro. Go
yeah, he's
karting.
got to be in the races, he's got to be shaking people. It's like, bro, we don't need to see you just bounce.
Go karting, bro.
All right. So last thing for me, because now I really do gotta go. Monaco for this year, they're keeping it on. What do you think about the potentially mandatory two stops that they're introducing? Is that going to help that race? Is it going to make it more exciting, or is it just
Loving it. I'm loving it because if you have two stops or three maybe, we don't know, like they did it on Qatar 2023. Um, Now it doesn't matter who's on pole. Now you have to get involved with with the team strategy, and that's something that we've been missing from Monaco, unless there is raining.
mm-mm.
On a dry race like last year, we only had one stop on the first lap because there was a red flag, and everybody did the whole race on one set of tires. I saw people saying on the group and on social media that it's not necessary to put like more mandatory stuff, but
Sure,
just to have the drivers drive on soft tires, on the softer tires. But I'm thinking these guys are so good at what they do that they could do that race on a set of soft tires, so we would still have the same problem. And they've said there's been a lot of proposals. I've heard about something about making the cost smaller for the Monaco race. But I
sure,
think
yeah,
from the budget cap point, I don't think that's feasible.
no,
Then I think this
Williams
is
couldn't do it.
the best option they could have come with.
So I think for me, yes, let's figure out how to make Monaco more exciting. I'm definitely not for taking that race out. I think like you I think have said this, but I also agree with it in times past you've said this. The problem isn't really for me the stops. It's the size of the cars. The cars are obviously really big. I'm not saying anything groundbreaking. A lot of people have said that, but it's very obvious like these cars are
Well,
just bigger. So
today
it's
today Ferrari just published a picture of Fred Vasseur on the middle of the car, Charles on the front wing, and Lewis on the back, and
it's a
it
big car.
takes the whole track of Fiorano. And then you see the car that Schumacher went in when he was in Ferrari, and it's like it's like half. These cars are twice as large and much more heavier. So
So we'll see. Maybe 2026 because I know the cars are going to be smaller for 2026. But I guess the last thing for me is that I think we're both in agreement. The mandatory two stop at least should be able to make the race a little bit more exciting. And at best, like if it doesn't work, then okay, what else can we try? Let's see what happens in 2026 with the mandatory two stops and smaller cars
they're
with
not
the
gonna
racing.
get rid of they're not gonna get rid of Monaco.
I agree. I know they're not going to get rid of Monaco.
Monaco is the crown the
Yeah,
crown
it's
jewel.
part of that triple crown. It's the crown
It's
jewel of
the only
Formula.
thing
Yeah.
of the triple crown that F1 has because the Indy 500 is from the Indy Championship,
Mm-hmm.
and the 24
Le
hours of Le
Mans.
Mans it's
Yep.
from WEC.
It's WEC.
So
Yep.
it's the only thing of I don't remember the word on English
It's
like lo que le queda
it's it's the glitz and the glamour of F1. You can't you it's Monaco is part of the history of
prestige. That would be
yes.
the prestige of the category.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So,
So I don't think
but
that
we'll see. We'll see. I don't think they're gonna get rid of it.
I don't think
Obviously,
they're
and
gonna get rid of
hopefully,
Monaco.
like
No,
the race is more exciting.
no, they won't.
Uh, all right, Vince. This is
Yo,
actually all the time that I have.
really?
So, yeah, La Doña de la Quincena. For those who don't know, look that up. What that means. And so, and so this is going to be the wrap. There's no pariguayos or matatans because literally
There's no
it's a great
races.
chat with my friend Vince. And so we'll have to bring you on. We'll have to talk offline about what's going to happen this year.
Yeah. So we don't
As
get
always,
like
uh,
we don't get thrown in the mix. They go like, "Hey, you said that on that episode." I'm like, "No, I did."
don't worry about it. It's like, don't worry about it. Yes. For those who don't know, again, please check out Entrando Pits. I'll put all the socials on the bottom. It's a great podcast for Spanish speakers. I am myself, I'm a subscriber. Um, and as always, please, 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 please tell your tios, your tias, abuelos, abuelas, mamis, papis, vecinos. I'm mi Bertre. Vince, thank you.
No, you have to also please let's subscribe to
Oh,
this
yeah. Hey,
channel.
comment,
Like,
subscribe, like,
comment,
yes.
share. Because you said to your tias, your primos, hey, speaking English,
Te-
the English speaking world will not understand you. So say it in
I got
English.
you.
Like,
Hey,
send it to
this
your
is why
cousins, to your boyfriend's sister. I mean, send it to everybody.
everybody comment, like, subscribe. This is why you get somebody who knows what they're doing on your show. By the way, they give you tips that actually make sense.
I don't know
All
anything.
right, all right. Peace.
So.